Right. We are live, and what I have with me is the courage to be disliked. So the thing is, the reason I chose this to be a live stream because if you do a video recording and publish it elsewhere anytime afterwards, so let's say I do a recording of this book review and then I post it after a day, after a few hours, and whatever it is, I tend to edit each and everywhere, and moreover the video will be edited, so the original taste will be taken out of the video. Whatever the original taste, whatever the original critique will be taken out of the video, and I don't want that to happen. Whatever the mistakes I make here, it is live, and it is live for everyone to see, and it doesn't matter. So whatever it is, I want to be original, I want to be live, and I want to be streaming it to all of you because it matters, everything matters. So that is why. And this book is, it has sold over 10 million copies because the courage to be disliked by Ichiro, Kishimi, and Fumitake Koga is one of the best-selling self-help books. So that is known worldwide, and it is a well-known fact. And what I intend to do is we'll read through each and every chapter. So I think there are 10 chapters. Is it? Yeah, there are 5 chapters, and there's an introductory part as well, and the chapters are based on nights. As in, this is a conversation which happens between a philosopher and a student, philosopher and a youth. The student is a youth, so it is in the shape of a conversation which occurs between a philosopher and the youth student. So what happens is, there's an introductory part, and then afterwards there are 5 days, 5 nights. So each night is categorized into certain topics, right? The first night is to deny trauma, and the second night is to it is based on all problems are interpersonal relationship problems. So it will be a questionnaire between the youth and the philosopher. And the third night, it is on discard other people's tasks. And the fourth night based on where the center of the world is. So this is a questionnaire. The youth is asking the philosopher, what is this, what is that, and tell me about this and tell me about that. So the philosopher is answering all the questions that the youth is having, right? And the fifth night, to live in a earnest in here and now. So everything about the day to day, I think day to day questions, right? Right. So the introduction part. So it is we are starting from here, the introduction part. So like if you have, I don't think everybody will have this book, although it says sold around 10 million copies around the world, but still I mean, like, the population is almost 8 billion people in the world. So I mean 7 million plus, no? So but still this is available on the internet, and it's available in Amazon as well, to be downloaded as a PDF copy if you pay the right amount, and it is shipped worldwide as well. It's a must-have book if you are, let's say, if you are 20, 25 years and above, right? If you're finding your feet in the world, if you're trying to do what you like and find your own pathway, this is a nice yet a very helpful self-help book. So I think it's a must-have for every youth, not just a youth, every youth, teen, adult, doesn't matter male or female, everybody should have this because it will help you immensely. That is what I believe. So starting off from the first uh, introductory part, it, I told you as before, it is a conversation which occurs between the youth and the philosopher. So mostly the youth is asking questions and the philosopher is giving answers, and these answers makes us think, like, what is what is it really is, what is the world really about, what are we doing right now, what is expected from us. So these things are very, I think these things are the very basics of livelihood, right? So the youth is asking, I'll go one by one and we'll discuss from where leaving off, and we will take the next question and so on. So the youth is asking, I want to ask you once again, you do believe that the world is in all ways a simple place? Youth is asking the philosopher whether the philosopher believes the world is a simple place. The philosopher says, yes, this world is astonishingly simple, and life itself is simple as well. Is true, right? So he says that uh, what do we understand by that is, I think the philosopher is trying to tell the youth that world is itself is simple. Right? World is simple. Whatever exists is simple, but it is us, the humans, the men and women, which make everything complicated. Right? So the youth ask back. So is this your idealistic argument, or is it a workable theory? What I mean is, are you saying that any issues you or I face in life are simple too? And the philosopher says, yes, of course. Right? So once again, what I said, saying that any issues you face, any issues all of us face are simple too, and the issues are simple as well, and the solutions, answers are simple as well, but it is us who makes this complicated, right? So yeah, continuous reading makes uh, makes me thirsty. So in the middle of our reading, I'll have to take a sip into of water. So youth once again ask, all right then, but let me explain why I have come to visit you today. Right? Firstly, I want to debate this with you until I am satisfied. Right? And then, if possible, I want to get you to retract this theory. If possible, I want to get you to retract this theory. And the philosopher laughs, says, haha, he laughs. Right? So once again, this youth represents all of us in the society, all of us, not just the teens or the youth, the enigmatic young generation, everyone, like each and every one of us, because what we are about is, what I understand is, what we are about is our egos. Our egos needs constant pampering, and our egos needs constant boostings. So we need to win things. We need to be satisfied, feel satisfied. And because of that, we make life complicated. The easy life, whatever the problems and solutions, they are very easy and direct. And we make it complicated and indirect. So that is what the philosopher is trying to, I think he will make him understand that. So the youth asked, his question is, because I have heard all about your reputations. The word is that there is an eccentric philosopher living here whose teachings and arguments are hard to ignore, namely, the people can change. So the philosopher's arguments are the people can change, that the world is simple, people can change. Yes, I believe that, and I trust that, and I know that for a fact. People can change. The world is simple, right? And that everyone can be happy. Yes, all three things are true. I understand that, and I expect most of you all to understand that. I mean, like, you all have your own theory and arguments, but still you will understand that, right? You know that, right? Right? Everyone can be happy. That is the sort of thing I have heard, but I find that we totally unacceptable. So the student cannot accept that, unacceptable. So I wanted to confirm things for myself. If I find anything you say completely off, I will point it out and then correct you. But will you find that annoying? So the student says, so this is your argument, right? This is your argument, but I do not accept that. So I have a counter argument. So I will place it as my own. And when you explain everything to me, if there's anything wrong, I will point it out, and that will make you mad. So fair enough, no, right? And the philosopher won't get mad. He'll try to explain, right? And the philosopher says, no, I would welcome the opportunity to explain something to you. Welcome the opportunity. I have been hoping to hear from a young person just like you, and to learn as much as possible from what you can tell me, right? So that is very very accepting and very fair, right? I have been hoping to hear from a young person just like you, and learn as much as possible from what you can tell me. So he was waiting for a young person, so an energetic person who have the passion, right passion and energy to go to the world and go beyond and above everything else, and then question everything up until he understands anything, question everything. And then if nobody is answering his questions, he will try to put his energy to search for those questions, and that is what the philosopher has been waiting for. So, and once again, the youth explains, youth is asking the question, thanks, I do not intend to dismiss you out of hand, right? I will take your views into consideration, and then look at the possibilities that present themselves. The world is simple and life is simple too. If there's anything in this thesis that might contain truth, it would be life from a child's point of view. Right? Children do not have any obvious duties like paying taxes or going to work. They are protected by their parents and society. So they can spend days free from care. They can imagine a future that goes on forever and do whatever they want. They don't have to see grim reality. They are blindfolded. So to them the world must have a simple form, right? So the children, according to the youth, world is simple for only the children, right? So I mean, like, it's true. His argument is actually true. However, as a child matures to adulthood, the world reveals its true nature. Very shortly, the child will know how things really are and what he is really allowed to do. His opinion will alter, or and all he will see is impossibility. His romantic view will end and to be replaced by cruel realism. So the philosopher says it doesn't count as he agrees that is an interesting view. So that's not all. The youth has some as well. Once grown up, the child will get entangled in all kinds of complicated relationships with people and have all kinds of responsibilities thrust upon him. So that is actually he's explaining what living is for every human being, male or female, girl or boy, whomever they are, from start to finish. What we go through, he's explaining that. So he's explaining that, he's putting it out there and asking the philosopher, what can we expect, what is the reality, right? How do you define this is the reality, how do you define your theories according to this? So that is what he's asking. uh, so that is how life will be, both at work and at home, and in any role he assumes in public life. If goes without saying that he will become aware of the various issues in society that he couldn't understand as a child, including discrimination, war, inequality, and he will not be able to ignore them. Am I wrong? So the youth ask the philosopher whether he's wrong. The philosopher says it sounds fine to me. So please continue. And the youth, on his third point, well, if we were still living at a time when religion held sway, salvation might be an option, right? So uh, in a medieval time, it's the religion that dominated everything, and salvation upon God was what was searched, and it was the only truth, because the teachings of the divine were everything to us. All we had to do was obey them and consequently have little to think about. Like, the religion dominated everything. It was just the religion, and everyone would fear and trust only the religion, and the only purpose was to follow the religion and to obey the gods, right? The sayings of the god. But religion has lost its power, and now there is no real belief in God. With nothing to rely on, everyone is filled with anxiety and doubt. Everyone is living for themselves. That is how society is today. So please tell me, given these realities and in the light of what I've said, can you still say the world is simple? So everything is complicated. So after explaining everything to the philosopher, the youth is asking, can you still say the world is simple? The philosopher says, there is no change in what I say. There is no change in what I say. The world is simple and life is simple too. So he still believes, he still stands on his saying, argument that world is still simple. And although you explained all these things to me, still I believe, and I know that for a fact it is still simple. And the youth asks, how exactly? Anyone can see that it's chaotic mass of contradictions, right? So after going through everything, the youth has a point. So according to him, everything is confusing. Everything has contradictions, everything has arguments, counter arguments, doubts, everything. So the philosopher says that is not because the world is complicated, it's because you are making the world complicated. So once again, back to our main point, the world is simple, right? According to the philosopher and according to me, from what I understand, world is simple. Everything in existence is simple, but the way we tend to live with it, but what we make out of world is complicated. Our reality, our attitude towards the world is complicated. So everything we make out of it is complicated. Once again, so youth is asking, am I? So I- he's asking whether he is also simple. uh, and the philosopher says none of us live in an objective world. None of us live in an objective world. So you have to listen carefully to see the real meaning, see what really comes out of this. The philosopher says none of us live in an objective world, but instead in a subjective world that we ourselves have given meaning to. See, once again, what we call living is not just not it's not a simple fact. According to us, living, the concept of living is, it is subjective. So we call living, we compare ourselves to every other human being, you know surrounding us, what we can see, who we can see, the other countries, the people living in other countries, right? That is why war exists. That is why these economic wars, cold wars, everything exists, because it's a subjective concept of reality, what we call living. We compare it to everyone else, everyone who's we exist and everyone else exists around us. We compare everything to everyone else. That is why it is very hard and complicated when you do that, right? The world you see is different from the one I see. The philosopher once again explained, the world you see is different from what I see as the world, and it's impossible to share your world with anyone else. So, uh, according to the philosopher, the world for whom he believes, and the world to him is very simple. His argument is simple. His philosophy, the policy is simple. So everything is simple to him. But it is very hard to share his own world with somebody else, right? That is what he's telling us. It is very hard to share his world to someone else. Someone else. It is very hard to understand for them. So that is why it is hard to believe the philosophers, or to see the philosophers' true words, right? The youth asked, how can that be? You and I are living in the same country in the same time, and we are seeing the same things, aren't we? So youth ask back, so how is it not possible or hard for me to see your world, because we exist in the same timeline, same country, same place? How your world is different from mine? That is a valid question, right? So the philosopher explains, you look rather young to me, but have you ever drunk well water and just been drawn? So it's a good question. So you look rather young to me, and have you ever drunk well water and has just been raw? Right? Youth ask back, it's a funny question. Well water. It was a long time ago, but there was a well at my grandmother's house in the countryside. I remember enjoying the fresh and cold water drawn from that well on a hot summer's day. So the philosopher explains, you may know this, but well water stays at pretty much the same temperature all year round at about 18 degrees. Well water stays at around pretty much the same temperature all year round, whether it's summer, winter, spring, or autumn. It doesn't matter. It stays on the same temperature all year round, 80 degrees. That is an objective number. So that is an objective number. So it doesn't change. According to the well itself and the water itself, it doesn't change. Same temperature all year round. But according to us, how we perceive it, it changes, right? It changes. It stays the same to everyone who measures it. But when you drink the water in the summer, it seems cool, because we are hotter than the well water. We are warmer in the summer than the well water. So for us, it's very cool, right? And when you drink the same water in the winter, it seems warm. See, in the winter we are cold. Our body parts and whatever we feel is cold. So when we drink the well water, it's warmer in the winter. Even though it's the same water at the same 18 degrees according to the thermometer, the way it seems depend on whether it's summer or winter. So the youth ask back. So it's an illusion caused by the change of the environment. It's an illusion caused by the change in the environment. But the philosopher says, no, it's not an illusion. You see, to you in that moment, the coolness or the warmth of the well water is undeniable fact. It's an undeniable fact. So you cannot deny, right? So according to you, subjective. You are comparing it to your taste buds, your inner body's temperature. Comparing it to that. In the summer, the well water might be cooler, but in the winter, the well water might be warmer, right? So you cannot deny that. It's true. That's what it means to live in your subjective world, because every human being on earth, I mean, not just human beings, all the animals as well, right? Every living thing is has its own world, which is subject to himself or herself or itself, right? There is no escape from your own subjectivity. So there is no escape. You have to comprehend that. You have to live through that. You have to live with it. No escape from that. At present, the world seems complicated and mysterious to you. So complicated and mysterious to you because the subject, it is subjective to you, right? But if you change, the world will appear more simple. So if you change your subjectiveness, the subjective attitude, the world will change. World will change its appearance to you. It will be more simple, right? The issue is not about how the world is. The issue is about how you are. It is very valid. It is very great. These points and counterpoints are very great, because the debate itself creates a nice attitude, nice concept, nice science to see and view the world, right? So the youth asked back, how I am. So how he is going to change the subjectiveness of his own world. So it's a question, it's a grave question for you, right? So anybody, it is a very valid. And the philosopher says, right, it's as if you see the world through dark glasses. So naturally everything seems dark. So if the uh, philosopher says, if the youth see the world through dark glasses, everything will be dark, right? So when you go out, when it is very shiny, the sun is shining in the summer, you wear dark glasses, sunglasses, and the glasses are dark. So you whatever you see will be darker than the exact reality, right? It's very hurting to see it directly at when it's very sunny. So, but if that is the case, instead of lamenting about the world's darkness, you could just remove the glasses. Perhaps the world will appear terribly bright to you then, and you will involuntarily shut your eyes. See, that is what exactly happens. That is why we wear the sunglasses. So that you take that into real life. Uh, if you see, if your subjective world is getting grimmer, darker by day and day, if it is very saddening and it is very depressing, you have to change your glasses. You have to change your perseverance or uh, conceptual world, the subjective conceptual world according to yourself, the how you review it, how you see it, and change your attitude towards world, towards everything you see. So the change will happen in the world itself. The world around you, the world you see will be changed when you have changed your own attitude. That is what he says. Perhaps the world will appear terrible bad. In that case, it may be positive, it may be way positive if you change your viewpoint, right? Right. Maybe you will want the glasses back. Also. Sometimes you will want the glasses back. But can you even take them off in the first place? Right? But right now, can you even change your perception of world? Can you even change your attitude regarding the world? He's asking, can you? Right? Can you look directly at the world? Do you have the courage? The courage. So it takes courage to change your own perception about the world. Yeah? Understanding about the world. Yeah, yes, it's a matter of courage. So he says it's a matter of courage. These things to change the subjectiveness, change the attitude that you hold against the world, towards the world, it takes a lot of courage to change that and change your perception of world. That is very true. So the youth ask, well, all right, there are tons of objections I would like to raise, but I get the feeling it would be better to go into them later. I would like to confirm that you are saying people can change, right? So he's asking, he wants to know that uh, the philosopher's ideation of second point was the people can change. So that is what the student youth is asking, and the philosopher says, of course people can change, they can also find happiness, everyone without exception. The youth asks, everyone can find happiness, that even the beggars on the street, even the homeless, can they also find happiness? He has a question, right? Valid question. Without exception. The philosopher says no exceptions whatsoever, everyone. Youth laughs. Haha. Now we are talking big. This is getting interesting. I'm going to start arguing with you immediately. So he wants to start his arguments, right? Philosopher says, I'm not going to run away or hide anything. Let's take our time debating this. So your position is people cannot change. And the philosopher asks, the youth's position is, so he believes that people cannot change. The youth says, that's all right. That's right. They can't change. Actually, I am suffering myself because of not being able to change. So youth is actually suffering. That's why he has all these counterpoints and questions from the arguments from the philosopher, because he is suffering in himself. That because main reason is he cannot change, right? Philosopher says, and at the same time, you wish you could. The philosopher argues back that he came all this way. The youth came all this way to not to actually not to argue or debate the philosopher, but to somehow, however, understand the fact that people can change, and because he's wishing that he himself can change because he's suffering inside. Youth says, of course, if I could change, if I could start life all over again, I would gladly fall to my knees before you. But it could turn out that you will be down on your knees before me, because the student says he has tried already, but it's a false perception of life, false thing. The philosopher says, you remind me of myself during my own student days when I was hot-blooded young man searching for the truth, uh, trapezing about calling on philosophers. And the youth says, yes, I am searching for the truth about life. The philosopher says, I have never felt the need to take in disciples and never have done so. However, since becoming a student of Greek philosophy and then moving into contact with another philosophy. I have been waiting for a long time for a visit from a young person like you. You task another philosophy. What would that be? And the philosopher says, my study is just over there. Go into it. It's going to be a long night, and I will go and make some hot coffee. So he's inviting the student to join him in his study and go over his studied material philosophies, and then it will be a long night. It will be several long nights, and these long nights will be depicted in this book one by one. There are 5 nights. The arguments, stories, philosophies, they they discuss, they argue, they try to understand. The student try to understand the philosopher's waypoint of thinking about life, and those things are very valid. So in the future we will go into these chapters one by one. Tell us what you think down below in the section where you can comment. And if you believe this is very valuable, just don't hold yourself back. Express yourself. Tell us what you think, what you actually expect from this. This is a book read, and this book is The Courage to Be Disliked. This is very, it's a very valuable self-help book if you don't know still what it is really about. And since we read through the introduction part, you might have some sort of understanding about this book. So feel free to drop in a comment and say your viewpoint as well, your arguments, and say your perception of life, so we can try to understand everything together as a group, right? So that's it for today. Thanks for joining. We'll connect back another day as well.